Welcome to the On Main Street podcast, where you'll meet some of the area's leading minds. These community leaders and business owners are ready to share their journeys of success, failures, and what it takes to reach your full potential.
We're your hosts, Kelly Baith
and Brady Lindquist. We had the pleasure of sitting down with Betsy Bonnema, the founder of a creative marketing agency called Redstar, and the co-working space WorkUp, located on the MinnWest Technology Campus in Willmar, Minnesota. Betsy's passion for helping entrepreneurs and building a collaborative culture is what drives her to empower others to grow and thrive. Thank you for being on the podcast.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Why don't we start off? Why don't you tell us about yourself?
Well, my name is Betsy Bonnema. I grew up in South Dakota, but I've been living in this area since 1989 or something, so a little while.
Okay.
At some point, I'll be able to call myself a local, I think. I own a marketing agency, and I've been doing that for about 28 years, Redstar. Wow. So we've been around a long time, had a lot of evolutions. And about 6 years ago, decided to open a co-working space. So the co-working space called WorkUp is kind of under the Redstar umbrella, but it's its own entity. And the goal of WorkUp is to really provide a place for all kinds of different people who are either freelancing or starting their own business, entrepreneurs, independent workers, a place where they can work, but also find each other and kind of be part of a community. Because out in outstate Minnesota, sometimes you can get a little isolated.
Sure.
You know, when you're trying to start a new thing, whatever it is, it's easy to get isolated.
Sure. It seems like entrepreneurship, it's a big part of your life. How did you get started with that?
I started Redstar pretty much right out of college.
Where did you go to school?
University of Minnesota, School of Journalism, Advertising track. So I was pretty young then. I didn't know what I was doing. And so I can't really take a lot of credit for having a grand plan. I didn't. Yeah, Joey Baker joined me a few years in, and we worked together for almost 20 years. And we built an agency that started out feeling pretty traditional, and then we kind of evolved into a really unique type of agency that does things very differently, collaboratively and things. And I just kind of fell in love with the culture of that, of the way our business was working with our clients. I think being an entrepreneur in starting a business, it's really just about people. It's just people have dreams, people have ideas, people have a passion for something. So that's the part of it I love, and I get to talk about that in my marketing side, but on the WorkUp side, and when we get into some of our programming for WorkUp, it just gets really fun because it's helping people start businesses. I've done that, so I have some experience, but I also have a lot of marketing experience, so I can come at it from a couple different ways. But it's really, the fun part is just learning people's stories, like your story, figuring out what's driving them, what does success look like for them. I think the stereotypical entrepreneur that we hear about or read about in the magazines, it's from, the Metro that wants to, sell to Google someday. That's not who we are out here. Yeah, we're kind of a different kind of entrepreneur, and it's just a fun area to be working in.
It's probably hard to explain exactly. You just did talk about the passion for helping other entrepreneurs. I mean, is there anything specific that you just really love about helping others like that? Probably kind of a tough question, but.
Well, so one of the things we do here is called Startup, which is a boot camp that I created. And one of the reasons I created it, once we got settled into WorkUp, Redstar did, we were getting approached a lot by some of the startups and entrepreneurs that were working here, and they needed marketing help, and they needed some direction. And so I created this boot camp experience that the goal was to walk them through the initial planning and strategic planning of marketing in a way that allowed them to sort of do it themselves before they ended up going somewhere and spending a lot of money. And they kind of had their thoughts in order, and they had some strategy, because that's the piece nobody has time for, thinks about, anyone talks about. When you start a business, everyone just talks about, what are your financial projections?
Sure.
How much savings do you have? Where are you going to get investment? That's the whole conversation. And the conversation we have at Startup is about, where did you ever get this idea? Like, why do you want to do this? What about you as a person is the right fit for this idea.
Sure.
And so it ends up being about people's passions. And if you can help them see that differently, because nobody can see it for themselves. It doesn't matter how much experience you have with a business, you can't see your own business well. You need someone else to look in and tell you what they see. So once you dig into that and you get to learn about people and their ideas, it's just so fun. And helping them get to a place by the time they leave where they're so validated and fired up and excited because they knew they wanted to do it, but they weren't really sure why. They couldn't articulate it. But now that they can articulate it, they're like,
they
on
kind of have their
fire.
why.
Yeah,
right?
They're on fire. Yeah, we talk about the why a lot.
Yeah.
So when they leave, it's like they've kind of been like fueled up.
That's awesome.
It's really fun.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Building a team and building a culture. It seems like around here, I mean, with WorkUp, and you have it's a type of a culture.
Yep.
Maybe talk a little bit about that.
Okay. Redstar, like I said, I started in 1990, a really long time ago. We started down a really traditional path where we were a typical agency. There's a way typical agencies work. We have an agency, a record contract. We sort of learn your problem. We kind of go back over here and work our magic, come back and go, ta-da, here's the answer. But at that time in history, the people were just starting to get laptops, and they were just starting, not laptops necessarily, but just desktop publishing. They were starting to be able to do their own stuff. Mm-hmm. So we decided to completely shift gears at that point, and we shut down kind of the traditional side of our business, and we changed the model to be very collaborative. So at that time, we had something like 12 or 14 clients, and we bought all of them a laptop. And we bought all the software, and we started in on what became sort of a culture of training and teaching and collaborating. So there was one person in every company that kind of became part of our team. We trained them how to, use PageMaker at the time or some of the software so that we could work together on things. And so that made the relationships feel really different,
Absolutely.
It was about good marketing, but it was about how we did the marketing. And so we continued that. It's been like that ever since. And so I'm just such a believer in that collaborative spirit. I just think
sounds like it.
nobody's got the answer, but when you get together and help each other, I think that's when everything starts to click. So that culture is what drove Redstar all those years. And I always had a vision that I could kind of broaden that by having a space where people could come and do the same thing, basically.
And that's where WorkUp came in.
That's where WorkUp came in. Mm-hmm.
Okay. The other thing I got written down here is the all-in mentality.
Yeah.
Could you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. Well, the transition to that collaborative relationship also meant that we got very integrated into our clients' company. So there was a time, and lots of different times, where I was actually working in the offices of the companies that we had for clients. The idea is that, marketing is a pretty big bucket. Yeah. People can throw almost anything in it. And I don't have a problem with that. My philosophy is that whatever it takes. So we do everything from, writing radio to designing collateral to hanging banners in the rafters of a event center for an event to clearing the tables when the event's over to, we don't have boundaries around it. It's all about what needs to happen for this strategy or event or whatever to be successful, and then we'll just do it. And so my whole team had to kind of adopt that mentality, and it wasn't hard to do. They do, but the idea is if you get a call and they need something, we do it. Sure. It's not a matter of, well, I don't do that, or I'm too busy, or so that all-in mentality is just really about how we treat our clients.
That's awesome.
Love that, yeah. How about why don't you describe our community? How would you describe it?
Well, I love our community. I think there's something for everybody in our community. I've lived in Spicer. I've lived in New London. I now live in Willmar. There's great things about every one of those communities. I think partly my role in working for some of the clients I've had, for example, I worked for the Economic Development Commission and for the campus and for Heritage Bank, some different groups that have a lot of touch points in our community. I've seen how collaborative our communities can be and how hard we work to make things happen. And I don't think you get that everywhere. I don't think everybody's that willing. And I know that we have a little politics that happens between, Willmar,
sure.
Spicer, and London. But I think from a really big picture point of view, we have some pretty amazing, dedicated community leaders that do a lot of cool stuff. And I think that's what I love the most. And so that's what hopefully this place sort of fuels that too. Like it's one more place where we reinforce that feeling. Like we do things like we donate space to groups like the people that were building the playground so that they could have somewhere to meet, all the time when they were building that project and things. So it's just the idea of reinforcing that good that's kind of already built into our community. We have people come here all the time that talk about, wow, this place is amazing. Like you guys have accomplished some amazing things. And when they say that, they mean things like the playground and the YMCA and the Highway 23, this campus, all kinds of things.
Yeah.
We are lucky.
Yeah, there's a lot of cool stuff going on.
Awesome little community.
Yeah, it is.
Let's talk about WorkUp a little bit.
Okay.
And just kind of what you're doing with WorkUp. I know there's like Million Cups is here weekly on Wednesdays, right? And there's a social media breakfast from time to time.
Yep.
Talk a little bit about that stuff.
Well, I'm going to back up and tell you just a touch of history about it. So before we even opened the doors at WorkUp, the vision was really about serving the community, being that collaborative community building place. It's supported by the Economic Development Commission, Ridgewater College, Heritage Bank. So we have, and Southwest Initiative Foundation. So we have a lot of community entities that are behind us. And so when we were able to do that, one of the things we talked about is that this will be a place where there's going to be programming all the time that's accessible, free for entrepreneurs, people wanting to start a business, people need marketing. And so that was our commitment. And so we've done that a lot of different ways over the last 4 years. Right now, the most popular thing we do is called Wednesdays in Willmar. Every Wednesday, there's an event here. Twice a month, it's the 1 Million Cup program. Once a month, it's social media breakfast. And the other Wednesday, it's Skillshare, which is just someone who has something to teach.
Sure.
Like tomorrow's Gene Ashburn talking about organization.
Yeah.
So
that's cool.
Okay.
So that's just one of the things that we do because of our own passion for it, but also because we're kind of fulfilling a commitment to community partners that because they all want that too. They all want this to be a place where that happens. So we do a lot of things like that. The 1 Million Cup's kind of a cool story. Should I tell you that story?
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah. So we have a group, as I said, we have some really cool community leaders. So there's a core group of people, Joanna Schrupp, and I can't name all their names. I know I'm not going to do it justice, but they were interested in doing something in our community similar to what Fargo's done. So Fargo's had a really active entrepreneurial community, and they have a really successful 1 Million Cup program. And 1 Million Cup is a national program by the Kauffman Foundation that every week on Wednesdays at the same time, every community who's a part of it has coffee, a cup, and they invite an entrepreneur to pitch their idea or their business for a few minutes. And then the idea is that the community attends that, listens to the entrepreneur, and then offers whatever support they can. The last question they always ask is, what can we do to help you be successful? And then everyone joins in. Well, you have to apply to become a 1 Million Cup community. They don't give it away. It's a designation you have to earn. So our group of those community leaders they went up to Fargo, they figured out what was going on, how it worked, came back here and worked for months to put together an application to become a 1 Million Cup community. And in order to do that, you had to prove that you had an entrepreneurial spirit and history in your community. Wow. So we had to really, figure out how to tell our story. So we became a 1 Million Cup community, which was a big win for us.
Yeah.
And so awesome. Now I think it's been 2 years maybe.
Wow.
And so every week we have the program, and now we do it twice a month, but it's a commitment that our community has made to support that aspect of entrepreneurs and startups. And it's a pretty big deal. And we've been pretty consistent about it as a community. So I'm pretty proud of us for keeping it up.
Yeah, it's awesome.
That is cool. So let's talk about a typical day for Betsy. If you're an early riser, late nighter,
well,
what's it like?
Anyone will tell you I'm kind of a workaholic, so I'm here
Are you?
pretty much all the time. But that's my passion, so I love it. I'm a nerd also. I I read a lot, podcast nerd, big time, and Gary V nerd, and Simon Sinek and Seth and all those guys. I have a huge passion for TED Talks and TED. I've organized 3 TEDx events in our community, and I'm going to Vancouver in April to the TED event. So that's kind of my big bucket list thing. So to me, to go to a TED event there isn't a concert or a cruise you could send me on that I will want to do more than I want to do this.
Cool.
Because I'm just kind of a nerd, I just kind of have a passion for that stuff. So
okay, nice.
So
that's awesome.
That's what I do for fun.
Early riser?
Yeah.
Up early?
Yeah, really early. Yeah, that happens as you get older. You'll find this out. Your schedule changes.
Yep. How about, okay, let's drag you away from work totally. What else do you do for fun? Do you like to bike or ski or anything like that?
I'm a runner. I do a lot of running, and I downhill ski when I can.
Okay.
I can find a mountain. So huge. I did both of those growing up, so it's kind of in my blood.
Sure. Downhill skier?
Yeah, downhill and water ski. I was on Green Lake for quite a bit growing up, so I was into that too.
Cool.
So
that's this guy over here.
Yeah, water ski.
I put a few hours back in the day.
Are you in?
I was on the team when I was little.
I was going to say you probably
until I was older, but now it just hurts thinking about doing some of that stuff. How about anything that we haven't asked you that you want to touch on?
I'm really passionate about co-working, and the reason I am is because of the culture. Co-working is really about helping each other. It's kind of the abundance versus scarcity mentality. I don't need to protect what I have. I need to share it. And I'm just really passionate about that. I think it can change the way you are in the world. I think it can change your business. And I think you guys are doing that. I mean, I think this is a good example. You guys are proactively creating value and giving it away. And
sure,
you see that as a value to you too. And that's really the nature of co-working. For me to sit down and help someone for a couple hours, there's no doubt that I'm going to get that some time later in return in some fashion. And when everybody comes into the space with that mentality, it can change, the day of anyone who's in here.
Sure.
I'm doing something kind of interesting on Thursday. I was asked to testify at the Minnesota House of Representatives. They're Dave Baker and Kristen Robbins, who is a U.S. or a Minnesota representative from Maple Plain, I think, are introducing a bill to get funded for putting more co-working spaces in outstate Minnesota. So they're trying to get more spaces like ours in other communities that kind of need
something like that
kind of shot in the arm. So they want to learn a little bit more about how it works. And
cool.
And so I'm kind of excited about that.
Yeah.
It's not the magic answer probably, but it's just fun to talk about how it can change communities and so that's
neat. Next week.
That's Thursday. Yeah.
Okay. How can people get in touch with you? Are you on social media, or how can you be reached?
WorkUp and Redstar are all on social media. WorkUp is probably our most active place. WorkUp.cc, not .com.cc. You can go to our website. We also have Instagram, Twitter, Facebook for WorkUp. And we're so events driven. So we have so much going on here that it's following our social. You'll learn a lot about what you can come and participate in, what we have happening. We also try to talk about what our members are doing. A lot of our members will have they'll have a workshop or something for free. So we'll help them market it, and then they offer it to everybody, and it's kind of a win-win. So we have a lot of that happening in the next probably couple months. So
cool.
Just watch our events and check out and come,
Sure.
Like I said, most of it's free, not all of it.
You mentioned events. If there's any events you want to plug or...
Well, you should always check out our boot camps. Those are fun. We have coming up on the 28th what we call Pitch Night, which is a follow-up to boot camp. So companies coming out of our boot camp are invited to pitch, meaning it's kind of like Million Cups. So they get up and maybe they have 6 or 10 minutes. Mm-hmm. The idea is they practice kind of re-articulating who they are and being really clear and putting to work all the things we learned in the boot camp. But then we invite all the other people that have gone through the boot camp. So there's been 50 companies by now, and then all of our founding members. And then the idea is to come and give them feedback and support them, just like for Million Cups. So that's coming on the 28th from 5:30 to 7. We have 3 of our boot campers presenting. So that's free. If you want to come and check that out, you might enjoy that. But so we have one lady, Abby, who's starting interior design firm. We have another consultant who's an engineer starting an engineering consulting firm. She's doing like leadership type stuff, operational stuff. Then we have Sarah Swedberg, who is running the Main Street Willmar program, who's getting that going and has all these visions about what they're going to do in downtown Willmar and how that program is going to impact people. So those are the 3 presenters. So very different business ideas, but
for sure.
Yeah, really cool people.
And that's right here, right?
That's right
probably
here.
right up back there.
Yep.
Nice.
And we do that once a quarter so that our boot campers get a chance to test it out. And we also invite them to come and speak at Million Cup too, if we can get them there. So.
Cool. Thanks again for coming on the podcast.
Yep. Thanks for having me.
I think we're lucky to have you part of the community.
Oh, thank you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you.
A lot of people are lucky to cross paths with you.
Yeah, you're doing some pretty special stuff out here, I think.
Yeah, it's really fun.
And we want to thank you for taking time out of your day to spend with us. If you enjoyed this episode, it would mean a lot to us if you would subscribe and leave a review. The On Main Street podcast is a bi-weekly show brought to you by New London Real Estate.